Richard, I'd like you to jump into this. Driving seat, not anywhere, and it's not going anywhere, and you cannot really afford to sit on the fence and that kind of things. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, actually, I mean, just to back up Michael, I had a piece also on Nikkei this week saying how ASEAN is kind of missing in action when it comes to South China Sea. Of course, coming from the Philippines, this is the primordial issue for us, and this is where I think, to be honest, there's a lot of frustration that goes both sides. I think some in ASEAN may have misperceptions that the Philippines is kind of the deputy sheriff of United States in ASEAN, in the same way that Mahathir used to dismiss Australia in the region.
Is the Philippines checking out
No,
of ASEAN?
absolutely not. I think what we're seeing in the region is a kind of a 50 shades of multi-alignment, multi-vectoring, whatever you want to call it. I don't think President Marcos Jr. wants to fully align with United States against China, just like much of ASEAN. He wants to keep things on an even keel with China as much as possible. But I completely agree with Pak Marty that not making a choice is a choice in itself, except it's increasingly a luxury that more and more of us cannot afford. And I think President Marcos Jr. tried his best. In fact, his first state visit was to China. He tried to get something, whether on the BRI front, on the South China Sea front. He was not really getting much out of it, and I think that increasingly pushed him towards traditional alliances. And now we have all these conversations about enhanced defense cooperation agreement. Now, speaking of ASEAN and how ASEAN can be relevant to us, I mean, whenever I speak about ASEAN, it's kind of a, you know, we call it cariño brutal, you know, it comes from a place of love when I criticize ASEAN. I don't think I share a lot of my compatriots' skepticism or cynicism towards ASEAN. But my sense is, in ASEAN, we have forgotten how we have been effective. So if you look at the AFTA CEPT, we were effective because it's ASEAN minus X. If you look at how ASEAN played a decisive role during the East Timor transition, or played a very decisive role in pushing post-conflict Cambodia towards a more pluralistic regime in the 1990s, it was much more minilateral than multilateral, as the Thai foreign minister back in the day said. I mean, essentially the Frank Sinatra way, right? Each of us will go our way, and those who converge will work it together. And my sense is, in fact, if you look at how we operationalize consensus, it's not really muafakat. I mean, for those who understand Arabic, muafakat is closer to how European Union operationalize consensus. What we have really is unanimity-based decision-making, which is never going to work on things that are inherently very divisive. And I cannot blame our friends in Cambodia, for instance, not risking all their relationship with China for the sake of the Philippines, or I don't know, some countries here in the South China Sea. So I think naturally minilateralism is the way forward. And guess what? When multilateralism doesn't work, minilateralism can step in and fill in the gaps. And I know this is controversial, and some people think there's a zero-sum relationship, but the reality is that the bitterness is going to grow if ASEAN continues to be missing in action on an issue that is primordial to countries like the Philippines.